I think, look, Bitcoin's going to appreciate. If I had to guess, right, the I think most of the gains on Bitcoin are going to happen over the next 20 years, right, overall. And I think we get to, my sort of scenarios, we get to $1 million a coin within 10 years. I think we get to $10 million a coin within 20 years, right? So actually, most of the gains are going to happen on a dollar basis from 10 to 20 years, right? So, we're going up, like, again, from 100,000 to a million to 10 million, roughly, right? That's sort of my mental model of this.
Mathematician Fred Krueger believes that long-term, Bitcoin is the best opportunity of all time, and in his latest interview, he just revealed what his mental model is for predicting the Bitcoin price. Krueger believes that we will see the large majority of the Bitcoin price gains over the next 10 to 20 years. Within 10 years, Krueger believes we will see the Bitcoin price hit $1 million per coin. Then, within 20 years, Krueger believes we will see Bitcoin hit a massive 10 million per coin. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video where Krueger breaks down why he believes over time Wall Street is going to end up owning the majority of Bitcoin and what he thinks of the current price action. Before we jump into the video, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy finance content, consider subscribing and turning on post notifications. It's free and you can always change your mind. But without further ado, let's jump in with Fred Krueger.
And I would say Wall Streeters are going to end up owning all the Bitcoin. Okay? Because I think, not all, but they're going to own a lot of it, right? And the reason I say that is that there's going to be a distribution, right? So the first wave of people who own Bitcoin at, let's say $1,000 a coin or $1,000 to $10,000 a coin, once it gets to 100,000 or a couple 100,000 a coin, a lot of them will say, great, thank you, I'm retiring, I'm living on my island, I've got my money, or they'll sell half their Bitcoin and that's it, right? So, and we're seeing some of that right now, right? Because we're seeing a bunch of the shrimp, the crabs, and the fish, being 1 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin, 100 Bitcoin or less, right? Those categories are selling right here. They're and the whales are growing, and kind of traditional Wall Street investors are growing. So I do think there's sort of a new class of investors who's coming in who are sort of buying and owning some of this. Now, yeah, they only control 4% right now. I think that number is going to change. I think they're going to end up controlling 20, 30% of Bitcoin. And so, but I do think that, so I definitely think they're going to get involved on the ownership. As far as Bitcoin taking over Wall Street, I think it's going to take over a lot of Wall Street as an asset class. Yeah. So I think it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger in people's portfolios. And I think that's inevitable. I think we're going into a hyper Bitcoinization phase. 20, 30 years from now, Bitcoin will be money. It'll be accepted everywhere as money. You'll be able to, every ATM will be a Bitcoin ATM, every internet site will accept Bitcoin. Amazon will accept Bitcoin. You'll be able to pay your taxes in Bitcoin, etc. Right? That's kind of where I think we're going. Right. And I don't think we get there by government decree. I think it's just becomes more and more and more popular, and eventually they say, well, great, let's just every ATM will become a Bitcoin ATM. I think if you think that we've reached the peak rate, I think you're wrong. I think we're gonna go several times higher. We might go to 20,000 Bitcoin a day, 30,000 Bitcoin a day. It's possible, right? Why? Because you have to realize that what kind of percent adoption are we relative to mainstream investment? We're nowhere. I mean, just go to the average person around you and say, how much Bitcoin do you own? Most people outside of your kind of bubble of, Bitcoiners, you walk into your average New York, go to your average New York bar and just go sit at the side, say, hey guys, come around. Hey, we're doing a little poll here. How much of you guys have 5% of your net worth in Bitcoin?
None.
That'd be like maybe one guy, maybe out of 50, 100, right? That would say, yeah, I got 5% of my net worth. So we are at the absolute beginning of this. And by the way, and up until 2 months ago, those guys wouldn't even know where to begin to invest.
I get
their money
laughed
into
out of
Bitcoin.
every dad's circle I've ever in when Bitcoin comes up, whether I'm the one bringing it up or not. Bitcoin just gets mocked, laughed at, thrown
Right. So I mean,
off.
look, we've
Bunch of
got
I don't knows.
we've got a long ways to go before you're not going to be laughed at. You know, get get ready for more jokes. Listen, my brother called me today and he's like, "Hey, Bitcoin's down. You didn't call me." You know. And so, that's look, we're not done with this thing. We've got a long ways to go, at least price wise. I don't think time wise we have that much longer to go. I think in the next year we're going to start. The revenge will be a dish that's served cold. I think us Bitcoiners are going to look pretty sharp in a couple of years. But I do think that I think we've just started, and I think that we're seeing these signs are extremely positive, and if anything, I expect these things to continue to grow quite a bit. As well as I do think the interest in self-custody will eventually get much more, right? Because once you start really paying attention to Bitcoin and you start understanding, wait a second, this thing's going up like crazy. What is it again that I own? Oh, I can hold this thing in my own wallet. Oh, and I could take that with me wherever I want, and nobody can take it from me. Interesting. Look, I think that at the end of the day, things change when you have 10% of Americans who own Bitcoin. Right now, it's maybe 1% who have even 5% of their net worth in Bitcoin. I think once you get 10-20% of the people who actually have a meaningful amount of Bitcoin, and the government is nothing more in a democracy, right? And you could argue, are we a democracy, a representative democracy, or something, right? But what we have is still pretty special relative to what most of the world has, right?
Yeah.
And regardless of your politics, you got to love America for kind of its freedom. And I do think that as we get a lot more people aligned with Bitcoin, I think it's going to be those same people are not going to be super happy at any kind of bill that says we're going to take your Bitcoin. So, I think the trick is to get people to get them on board Bitcoin quick enough so that they don't. So people now sort of say, well, wait,
Right.
take. And I think this is happening, and you're sort of seeing comments like by Trump as saying, Bitcoin's it's an asset that has some virtues, and I don't think even Trump would have said that 4 years ago, right? So I think he realizes that, there are certain people where that will resonate, right? Who may not even like Trump, but they are like, ooh, I like what he's saying there about Bitcoin.
Single
right?
issue voters, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's important, and I think having said that, do I think if you're a little bit, Andy Grove of Intel said only the paranoid survive. So I think I think it's good to be a little paranoid, right? It's not bad, right? I think look, Bitcoin's going to appreciate. If I had to guess, right, I think that most of the gains on Bitcoin are going to happen over the next 20 years, right, overall. And I think we get to, my sort of scenarios, we get to $1 million a coin within 10 years. I think we get to $10 million a coin within 20 years, right? So actually, most of the gains are going to happen on a dollar basis from 10 to 20 years, right? So, we're going up from 100,000 to 1 million to 10 million, roughly, right? That's sort of my mental model of this. And I would guess that in this kind of situation, real estate will probably go up maybe by a factor of 2 over this kind of period, the first period, maybe a period of 4 over the second period. But, Bitcoin's going to probably outperform real estate by quite a wide range. So I tell a lot of young people who are just sitting there itching to buy their first house. I'm like, if I were you, I might just wait a little bit. I would say a smarter idea would be to rent and put some money in Bitcoin for, 4 or 5 years. No, I don't think, look, I mean, at the end of the day, I really only have really gotten complete Bitcoin religion for, 4 years right now. I don't think it makes much difference, 4 years or 0 years. Like, it doesn't matter, right? I think the mistake that a lot of young people are going to have is jumping in and being too aggressive, right? That's probably your biggest mistake. Don't do leverage. Don't go completely crazy. Don't think that Bitcoin is already passed and you need to buy Shiba Inu, right? That's your danger point, I think. It's probably a great investment, but you're going to have to be a little patient. You're going to have to wait. Same as I've waited, you may have to go through big bear cycles. Like, it's just, there's no shortcuts. You're going to have to wait a little bit. And, I just see a lot of people they're too much in a hurry, right? And so that's the biggest problem, I think, is you got to be somewhat patient. I hope that helps.
So there's Fred Krueger, who believes Bitcoin's long-term potential is unmatched, predicting a rise to 1 million per coin over the next 10 years and a staggering $10 million per coin within 20 years. Fred also shared his thoughts on why Wall Street will eventually dominate Bitcoin holdings and his take on current price trends. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future updates and interviews with top financial experts. But what do you think about Krueger's predictions? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a conversation. Anyway guys, hope you all enjoyed today's video and that provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, all the best.